hope you all have been absolutely okay. I hope you have been wonderful. I hope you have been enjoying life. If you're not on Patreon, we have been trying to enjoy our life as best we can over there. It has been good. But listen, I thought we had to come back. You know, we talking about MLK Day today. So I thought, you know, that it might be a good idea to come back for today and have the conversation that we have. Like I said, I wasn't going to be gone for good, but we can come back. We're going to have the conversation. So let's have a little bit of the conversation. Now, everybody get your libations, get whatever you need, like I say, to get through. Get your chamomile, whatever you decide you need for the day. I'm not here for that. But I think we just have to have a quick conversation. And please like the channel, because the channel is still going to be here. I'm just not going to be here as much. We'll have a schedule at some point or whatever maybe the case may be. But listen, the trolls and everything like that. I'm just kind of tired of all that and the stuff that kind of goes with all the trolls. And then you say something one night and then somebody decides the next night they're going to pick it up and make it part of their agenda. It just gets kind of old after a while. So I decided we're just going to do something a little bit different, and that's where the Patreon comes in. But let me not bore you with all that. I want to talk about what we talk about. I want to talk about King. Now, you know, today is the MLK holiday. We all are aware. And, you know, and let me just say this. I'm kind of tired of talking just about the whitewashing of King, because that is a problem. But understand, we always try to make that into a problem of kind of the right or whatever the case may be, or America makes him into a teddy bear. And that does happen. We saw that happen today. But I don't want to just talk about that, but we saw Biden, and then we saw Biden go, and it looks like, if I bring this up, it looks like he was feeding poor people carrots, right? I mean, something like that. I don't know, but it was something like that, was it not? I see carrots, and they say, what is the Day of Service project? Now let me just say one thing, fam, and you know, I don't have a problem. I honestly don't. I don't have a problem with charity. I want everybody to understand that, because you just got on here, she mean, and she don't even like charity. She don't even like helping poor people. I don't know what kind of person she is. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you want to understand what our obligation to Martin Luther King is, and what our obligation to his legacy is, if you want to understand that, if you want to understand that this man did not die so all God's children could have carrots, or this man did not die so that all God's children can have shoes, or whatever the case may be, if you want to understand that, and I don't even like to say die. I don't even like to say assassinated. I like to say slaughtered, because that's what happened. If you want to understand that, you have to bring it back from this Day of Service stuff. And I'm not upset. I'm not really pissed off at people who are doing it, but I think you have to understand why we're doing what we're doing. There are some things that just kind of bring it home, and there are some things that don't. So this, I think you have to come back here. When we're talking about the King, that I need you and everybody, we need to remember, you got to come back right here. You got to come back to somebody who was willing to take a bullet. And it might not have been a bullet. On any given day, it could have been a brick. Who died very early. And who was not murdered by a person, murdered by a country. The whole country was weaponized against him, because the whole country was weaponized against us. That is the person who was slaughtered for a very, 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 very specific reason. No, Nancy, he did not. He didn't. He wasn't. He wasn't killed because the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. We weren't talking about all of God's children. We were talking about a very specific group of God's children who you all have chosen to shut out. You don't even let Clyburn think for himself. He just have to, he came out and said there's not enough diversity. And he went to your office and came out babbling and spitting and sounded like he wasn't even free. This was not, and we have allowed everybody to turn Martin Luther King Jr., who fought for a specific group of people. You all and we all have abdicated the responsibility and allowed him to be turned into an all lives matter kind of caricature. And if you don't understand what happened on that balcony and the cost of what happened on that balcony, then you don't understand King. If you are not willing to put yourself on that balcony, you should not speak on King, because I want to say something else. It's not just Nancy Pelosi. Some of you, I don't even know what to call you. Some of you kind of YouTube babblers or whatever you want to call you, people who just, a lot of you people have just decided that it's time to just spit on King and talk about what his legacy wasn't and what you would have did. If you're not doing it today, you wouldn't have did it then. See, if you're not doing it today, you wouldn't have did it then. You never would have done it. You're never going to do it. If you're not willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, you should probably keep your mouth off people who are willing and have made the ultimate sacrifice. That's just kind of how that works. I don't understand how this is complicated. We have gotten into a space in this community where we have a whole lot of talkers, but we don't have a lot of doers. We have a whole lot of people come and say, man, I wish, I would have. We have a whole lot of people say, King loved everybody. We have a whole lot of people who say, well, I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me whether you agree with integration. What are you going to do today? Because that's the question I'm going to keep asking. People say, well, Yvette, you're not on YouTube. I'll have a presence here. But like even we have to, I'm going to do political education, but it's not just that. And even that has to be protected to a certain group of people, because I don't want everybody just lifting everything and saying, hey, I came up with a new thing. Everything has to grow. Everything has to change. And nothing changes if you just talk. It just don't. There's a place for political awareness. There's a place to have the conversation. There's a place for political education. There's no place for people who just talk. Every year they had the same conversation. Well, here the da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And here go Nancy Pelosi, speaking of more talking. Indeed, we must not rest until we finally achieve racial justice, social justice, economic justice, environmental justice for all our children. And may we always strive to build a future worthy of Dr. King's glorious vision. Child, anybody who believes that Nancy Pelosi is trying to build any kind of vision, I got something I'd like to sell you, and I don't think you should have to look at it first. You should just send me the money. On this day, I just take a look around at what everybody's saying about Dr. King. On this day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I urge you to keep in mind the true meaning of this celebration. This country doesn't have to be made great again. It is already great. You're saying that to people. Let me just come out of here for a second, because I even get kind of pissed off at that. When people who are the last slave alive, I don't even think Clyburn knows that people are free. When you say that, it's really irksome, because I don't understand how a great country ends up here. I want you to just look at this for a second. When we try to understand what kind of king to remember, when we try to understand King and what kind of king to remember and what our obligation is, and when you hear Clyburn or read Clyburn say this country is a great country, the question is for who? So look at this: assets by race and ethnicity. And I want you to bring this up just a little bit now that you've seen the title. Hispanics have caught us, and in a lot of charts have passed us. But this is just assets, right? This is, not what. But look, other whoever that is also. And look at white. So when somebody says it's a great country, for who? And I would ask the question as well, if King were alive today, would he say this is a great country, or would he say the same thing he said in the speech I saw today? Would he say, he basically said something that Jeremiah Wright kind of said. God, he didn't say God damn America, but he said America will be judged for its arrogance, right? He didn't say this is a great country. And this chart, amongst all the charts, we've seen many charts. You all know we've seen chart after chart after chart. What it demonstrates is that this country has been unwilling to fulfill King's dream. How dare you speak on a man when you have been unwilling to fulfill his dream? Not only that, you have extended his dream to mean everybody. All God sure needs shoes. That's your version of King. Go out and do a service because all God sure needs shoes. That is not the vision that he laid out. Now people say, well, let's talk about all the people who try to steal the vision. The socialists got to come out. They always come out. They try to steal everything. They'll steal your shoes if you got them on, if you ain't got them on. Just, King said MLK was a radical on not only on racial subordination but class. Well, let me tell you this, socialists of America, why don't y'all deal with the racial part? Like, instead of just trying to cherry pick King, why don't y'all ever deal with the racial part? See, the reason you say, we got to get black people up, because you never deal with the racial part. The racial part been here since the racial part is the inception of this country. It's the inception of this country. That's the racial part. That's before a lot of y'all got here. But you're going to tell us he was a class. Listen, King had to do what King had to do. He had to try to make inroads where he made inroads. And he's a pastor. A pastor is supposed to want the best for everybody. He's supposed to want nobody to suffer. If you fall into the shoes of Jesus, you're supposed to want that. What are you talking about? That's not why he got shot on that balcony. You can't understand King, and when you understand what the socialists are trying, King didn't get shot because he said, we just have to have a floor. We have to just improve quality of life. He didn't come outside and say, we just got to improve quality of life for everybody. I dare say he would have survived. Go and look up how many times he said the Negro. All of this. By the end of his life, Martin Luther King Jr. was an avowed socialist. So what? Listen, I think, regardless of what you say, I think King would have done anything and tried to cut roads and make deals with anybody to get his people freer than they had been. You're going to try to work it out with poor white people, everybody. You're going to try to work it out with whoever you got to work it out with. But the question is, what have you for the Negro socialist? Because the last time I checked, let's just go back a little bit and talk about it. The last time I checked, the person who wrote this, to fight racism, we need to think beyond reparations. The person who wrote this, Bhaskar Sankara, was the founding editor of Jacobin. So if this is who you are, what you're really trying to do, because you all remember what we found out about him. He lived in a swanky apartment or a condo or a house, whatever, in New York. None of y'all are serious. None of y'all are really, I don't even think half these people, if I'm telling the truth, I don't even think half these people are even serious about socialism. I think something happens with people of color and white people, and even some black leftists who get caught up in like the theory. Like they get caught up, they say, I'm finna go pop off and have the revolution. You know what that means? That means I'm finna go write a paper and I'm gonna try to get it published. Every socialist or leftist I've ever met has been trying to get published somewhere. I'm gonna write about this and I'm gonna write about how it all connects with Marxist theory. You gonna do what? I'm gonna write about this is, I'm gonna write about how this could. Since when is that revolution? If y'all waiting for the socialists to pop off, you're gonna be waiting a long time. Just cherry picking, talking about McKean's unfinished work. You ain't picked up nary a shovel, none of y'all. Standing in the way. See, nobody wants to hear the king, we coming to get our check. King said that too. This is how dishonest the socialists are. King said that too. And then son Kyle said to fight we need to fight racists, we need to think beyond reparations. Who are you to tell us what we need to look beyond? You are nobody. You somebody got a little money and published a paper. You're nobody though, to kind of dictate to this group what we need. And that is unforgivable. And I will bring up that clip wherever I can, whenever I can, because this man will live in his swanky apartment in New York where King ended here. The man who said we're coming to get our check lost his life right there. He never got to live in that little apartment that these little wine swirling socialists, the socialists love elite trappings more than anybody, don't they? Well, I'm the publisher of Jacobin, and I think, who asked you to think? Who asked you to pretend that you were ever going to sacrifice for anything? We need to look beyond. You are no authority on anything, sir. You are not an authority on race or racism. Y'all got to stop letting people tell us what our reaction to King should be, how we uphold his legacy. You got to stop letting people do that. Well, I guess service is good. Others of you just don't get involved in the conversation at all. You just go by like it never happened. Others of you, I say, hey, and I'm curious, because I got a call to action. I'm curious how many people, once we unroll these chapters, are going to put their money where their mouth is. It's one thing to say, yeah, I agree with you. It's one thing to watch and say, oh, I'm entertained by Yvette. That's entertaining. She kind of funny sometimes. She a little bit weird, but just I can deal with it. That's one thing. Deciding that you are going to actually engage in advocacy for the benefit of the collective, that's another thing. Because let me tell you something. All of these nonprofits, all of these, the nonprofit industrial complex done got his pawns in order and is deciding that they are going to co-opt everything. Now, I've said it again. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are the sleeping giant. We can stop anything if we choose. We can choose to do it. We can choose to not do it. It's up to us. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see because we got a lot of talkers. We had Janet Yellen was over there with Lord Al Sharpton today. Now, it was very interesting because Al Sharpton isn't somebody who's going to have anybody commit to anything. He just happy you showed up at the National Action Network because it really ain't nothing but a bunch of P.O. boxes. It ain't really a organization or nothing like that. So he's just happy you come in here. We're going to have the thing and do the thing and, please show up and whatever. So people show up to this very unserious man and hear what he has to say. It's all very interesting. But she told the truth today. She says economy is unfair to Black Americans in MLK Day speech. That's what Janet Yellen said. Now let's just look a bit about what she said because this is what they do to us. Every year they say, oh, we still got a ways to go. Why we still got a ways to go when it's so easy to fix? That's like somebody telling you got a ways to go before you walk again because you broke both your legs. What's up? Why I got a ways to go? Well, because they gotta grow back together. Wait. Can a cast expedite that growth back together? Well, yeah. Well, can you give me one? No, I don't want to. America could put together a reparations package today. Just don't want to. Instead, they just keep coming and saying, well, we know you got a problem. We know you got 2 broke legs. Got a little bit of cancer too. Well, don't you have chemo and radiation? Yes, but I don't think you, that's all right. But let's just look at what she said. She said, in a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. That's what talking about Martin Luther King's speech. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check. A check which has come back marked insufficient funds. King's metaphor and accusation in blunt economic terms, Yellen said, showed that he knew that economic injustice was bound up in the larger injustice. I don't think he said none of that. Yellen added that the Biden administration was working to change that to ensure that neither the figurative bank of justice nor any literal economic institution fails to work for people of color. Now, see, King, when he said color, he was talking about the colors in the water fountain. He wasn't talking about people of color. You see that little sleight of hand they do? Do you see that? You see how they did that? It started out very specific to us. It ended up talking about people of color. And not the kind of colored people that King was talking about in terms of the colored water fountain. No. Let's just go to the next remark. In her remarks, Yellen noted the steps the Biden administration had taken to address economic inequities that include building equity into the American Rescue Plan, so that communities of color, here we go again, would get pandemic relief, and Treasury had injected $9 billion into the community development financial institutions and minority depository institutions. Child, what that got to do with us? We are a specific group. What she said? Wait a minute. What she said it was? What was all these names? What is the communities of color? Into what? The injected $9 billion into community development financial institutions and minority depository institutions. Let me tell you something. White folk will say anything to get away from reparations. And if they say reparations, they're going to say reparations for BIPOC and disadvantage. And then the white men going to sue. It ain't going to happen no way. Child. This is, I mean, all God's children need shoes. That's the politics of the day. But remember what we say. You can't harm a community specifically. You can't have a specific harm without a specific redress. So you can't punch me in the mouth, and then when I need new teeth, you say, listen, I'm going to give you punch me in the mouth and I lose 10 teeth. You can't say, Yvette, I'm going to go give everybody one tooth. Because I see other toothless people around here, people who might be missing a tooth. So it's only fair if I pass around teeth. But you did this to me. You knocked my teeth out. I need teeth to replace teeth. That's the same thing with inheritance. We need our inheritance replaced. We don't need all communities of color, all groups with melanin. Half the people with melanin weren't even here when this happened. This was nearly all black, white, right? Don't come in my comment talking about who was here and what little group. I don't care. Don't talk about what the Chickasaw event and the Chinese. I'm not saying it. I'm talking about, go look at the numbers. Go look at the numbers pre the Immigration Act of 1965. Just go look at the numbers. Don't argue with me. I don't have time. My nerves ain't right to be bothered with some of y'all no more. Just go look it up. And you see that for a specific harm, there has to be a specific redress. And that specific harm is how we get here. So when you look at this, I just want you to look at this. I'm gonna go from the top to the title to the bottom. So financial disparity, asset growth by race and ethnicity since the 1980s. This is from Bloomberg. Now I want you to look at that purple. We say asset growth. I want you to look at that purple. And that's white people. And that blue is black. That's what it means to be a caste. A caste means we just stuck to the bottom. See, in any kind of we're humans, we're not deficient. In that situation, you have a normal kind of thing going on. You have a normal up down. And isn't that little gray on top of us Hispanics? So how do people who got here after us do better than us? If there's now they would have you believe, well, that's just something wrong with you Negroes. No, there's something wrong with America. And that's the thing the King pointed to. The thing that's wrong with America. And when King pointed to the thing that's wrong with America, and when he wouldn't let up, pointing to the thing that's wrong with America, this is the end of that. See, you need to remember the sacrifice. Because if you don't remember the sacrifice, I don't care, oh, that's sad, Yvette, I don't want to be sad. If you don't remember the sacrifice, then you don't know how to honor the day. You can't honor the day. And you don't have the same energy when people say negative stuff about King. If you remember him laying in that box lifeless because of you and because of me, if you don't remember that, it's easy to say stuff. It's easy to let people say stuff. It's easy just to have a day of service. It's easy to go and be okay with buying carrots for poor people on King's Day, as opposed to saying, listen, we should be having a round table. We should be having a meeting at the White House about what the reparations package looks like. At minimum, in terms of what we should be doing at ADOS on this day, is we should be planning our advocacy for the year ahead. Martin Luther King Day should be our day to plan and plot our advocacy going forward. That's what our day should be about. It shouldn't be about, I just have a day off. No, we should all be, this is going to be the day we got to look forward to. Today we're going to get it together. You know, every King Day we get together and we plot our agenda for America. Every day we get to, every King Day we get together and we tweak the ADOS Black Agenda. ADOS has a thing and we do it. That's what we should be doing on King Day. That's what ADOS should be doing. I don't know how we just let other people have control of our narrative. Somebody gave their life. King went from warm blood being splattered on that patio to a cold body in a coffin. And he didn't do it just for the sake of doing it. He did it for a group of people. That's us. He didn't do it for all people. He didn't do it for all people of color. He didn't do it for melanin. He did it for us. See, if you don't honor somebody's sacrifice, you don't encourage anybody else to step up and sacrifice. People say, "Well, where's all the leaders?" Well, y'all let all the sellouts run away and make a bunch of money. And then the people who were honorable, I don't even care if we just not, even if you're not just talking about King, even if you're talking about Black Panthers, how many of those are still in jail, right? We forget about the freedom fighters. We forget about the people who sacrificed with their lives. So if you do that, how do you encourage? If you do that, how do you encourage anybody to ever step up to the plate again? Why does somebody want to step up to that plate knowing that their sacrifice will be dishonored by the people they were fighting for? How do you want to do that? I'm just asking. You dishonor his sacrifice when you let people make it be just about going out and giving carrots to poor people. I'm not saying poor people don't need carrots or vegetables, carbs, potatoes, or potato wedges. I'm not saying that. Everybody needs to eat, and I'm not saying there's a place for charity. That's not MLK's day, though. That's another thing. You should, if you have it, especially the people at the top, that's y'all job. We don't have it really to give as much. We have to give enough to our family. We don't have charity. Our family is charity. If you have it to give by, don't do a show of it for King Day. Just do that on any given day, because you have been blessed beyond your mental capacity. And I'm not just talking about because you old. That 1994 crime bill, everything you did was to use ADOS for your own career ambitions. And you tried to run for president a bunch of times, and you plagiarized and did a bunch of stuff so it didn't happen. But that's what it is. You are privileged. And not because of some type of meritocracy. You are privileged because of who you are and what you were willing to do to us. So on this day, I don't need you to buy carrots for nobody, even Negroes. On this day, we have to talk about the stuff that King wanted just for us. Not the stuff that King said that he wanted. Listen, the stuff that King said he wanted for other people, that was auxiliary. That wasn't the main crux of what he was doing. The civil rights movement wasn't an all lives matters movement. Just because somebody tries to reach across the aisle and say, hey, I'm doing something for these people, but you deserve better life too. I'm doing something for these people, but yeah, this Vietnam War ain't right, and the money's going over there, and people are getting killed, and we can't do anything for our country. Just because somebody reaches over here and there doesn't mean that their main body of work, the canon for which they're known, has anything to do with you. It doesn't mean it's an all lives matter thing. And since it was not, since it was specific to the Negro, this day should be specific to the Negro. But let me tell you another problem we have. And the reason we have a problem making anything specific to what we do. We have people, and it just is what it is, who will write a book. And I haven't read the book. I can't say whether the book is good or bad. But you write a book about how the word is passed. And what is this in the center? A reckoning with the history of slavery across America. So you write a book about slavery. Hot diggity dog. Hope it's a good book. Whatever the case may be. Hot diggity dog. What I'm tired of, though, and what undermines what we do, is that you'll write this book about slavery, and then on King's Day, which is our day, Clint, you'll put something up like this. Your annual reminder that Dr. King believed in guaranteed universal basic income, that all people are, that gave all people a dignified life, guaranteed housing for all, guaranteed access to high quality education, and said no one should be forced to live in poverty. See, if this is the tweet you're going to give me on this, if this is the tweet you're going to give me, right? If this is the tweet you're going to give me on MLK Day, when Dr. King also said we're coming to get our check, and he died because of his sacrifice to us, don't write the book on slavery. Write the book on basic income. Write a book on universal basic income. See, because what they do, and that's the problem with a lot of these academics, what they do is they come up on race, because everybody, white people love interpreters. Well, tell me what the Negro thinks. That's what happened during the Obama era. We had all these interpreters on MSNBC. Torrey wrote the book, what was it, Post-Racialism, or whatever the case may be. Torrey wrote that, he was on TV. Melissa Harris Perry, she was on TV. MSNBC. Al Sharpton was on every day babbling, trying to figure out what the teleprompter said. And then in the back, in the moment, at the thing. Thank you. Oh, they were interpreters. Because God forbid white people and other people of color go to other Negroes who are living Negro lives to figure out what's going on with Negroes. So we have to have interpreters readily available. Like we some kind of fish out of water when we were here before you was here. Likely. Right? We've been here since inception and we got to have interpreters. But okay. So they get y'all to be the interpreters. Y'all write books, y'all write articles, all this stuff about race and racism. Great. What we need from you on a day like this day is not some all lives matter stuff. Again, King ain't died because of universal basic income. He got killed because of who he was fighting for. Can you just fight for your people this one day, though? Because this, to me, is a dog whistle to white people. This, to me, is a signal to white people that, hey, and a signal to people of color, hey, I'm not radical. I wrote a book on race, but I want what's best for everybody. There's nothing wrong with wanting what's best for everybody, but you got to feed yourself first. If you're drowning, you gotta pull yourself out of the water first. You'll be a fool to let somebody have your life raft if you haven't pulled yourself safely away, and you're not sure that you can pull two people safely with one raft. You'll be a fool to take somebody else on. This is the bait and switch of these Negroes. I saw another one of these Negroes of the chattering class Negroes. I saw another one of them on TV, done a whole thing about race and talking about what our democracy needs. See, even in terms of the Voting Rights Act, I don't even want to talk about what the democracy needs. I want to talk about what the Negro needs. What do ADOS need? Well, we're stuck at the bottom. We ain't got no inheritance. Well, what happened to the inheritance? Got stole. Can we talk about stolen inheritance today? You know, you just imagine for a second with me, fam, for one moment, just humor me. What would happen if all of the chattering class Negroes today, and all of us too, who are real people and not dog whistling to the left and to white liberals, what would happen if today we just spent today sharing data, and we spent today sharing some of MLK's quotes that you don't hear, but also sharing the impact of what he was talking about. So no inheritances, what that looks like in our life, what we're having to live through. See, the part of the reason that academics can't speak for us is because they're living good lives. They know a lot of the stuff, but you're living a good life. You got a dog that's happy. You probably got a wife or a girlfriend. You got a nice home or whatever the case may be. Even if it's not the best life, because academics aren't getting treated as good as they, ADOS academics and black academics, because I don't know who these people are. I don't know their background. Even if you don't, you're getting treated way better than most Negroes. And you've been away so long. Y'all been away so long. If you ever was home. Some of y'all didn't even grow up around other Negroes. You get around white people and speak for Negroes that you never even grew up around. I don't know if that's his case. I'm just saying that happens a lot. You go see people like, well, where'd you grow up? Iowa. Well, how many Negro? I'm not the Negro part of the other part. All the white people. And then you get to a space where you're supposed to be an interpreter of our life and how we live. Listen, I don't even try to be an interpreter for somebody who lives on the south side of Chicago or in an urban ghetto. I didn't grow up there. I don't live there. I grew up in a lower middle class neighborhood, 2 factory workers. I don't try. Now, I can tell you what the data says about what life is there, and I can tell you some of the things that needs to be fixed. But I'm not going to. That person needs to speak for themselves about what they live through in that community. Nobody needs you little Negroes coming in writing all these books about slavery, and you can't even talk about race on King Day. It's a whole bait and switch going on. We should be talking about what inheritance. If you're not talking about wealth, you're not talking about race. I'm sorry. If you're not talking about wealth and the meaning of that lack of inheritance in our lives today, if you're not talking about that, I'm so sorry. But if you're not talking about that, then you're not talking about ADOS. If you're not talking about the fact that, the government is still, whether you know it or not, is still kind of toying around and playing around with and trying to find a way to give undocumented immigrants $450,000, then we're not really talking about bottom castness. We're not really talking about how we get stuck to the bottom. If you're not standing up against that and saying, hey, you got to pay us first. And I will give it to Bernice King, who said, it's kind of unfathomable that you would pay other groups before you pay ADOS. Right? So, but if the rest of you can't summon the courage to kind of have that conversation on MLK Day, then why don't you just stop writing about race and start writing about something you understand, like universal basic income? Just because you have melanin doesn't mean you understand race. Just because you study race doesn't mean you understand race. Some of y'all just tested real good on the SATs and tested real good on the GRE, and so this is where you find yourself. It doesn't mean you experienced it. It doesn't mean you know it. It doesn't mean you can interpret or decipher it. It doesn't mean you care about it. We could have had a whole thing today, but no. We should be talking about how King could be, we should be talking about how to bring King's dream into fruition. And how far away we still are. But you can't look at the home ownership gap. But listen, you can't, and then our homes don't even be worth nothing. Because they're in our neighborhoods. Imagine that. Imagine us toxifying our own money because we're around each other. So we poison our own wealth because we're together in a space. Yep, they set it up that way. America didn't set it up just for us to fail. Failing is a part of it. But America set this country up to harm us. So when you remember King, remember all the harm. You got to remember the death, the diminishment, all of that. Not just one thing. You got to remember all the people who still now refuse to stand up and talk about it. That's the King you want to remember. Because when a white cop got his hand on your chest, you don't know if you're going to make it home. And I would not listen to somebody who, for whatever reason, wants to talk a lot, but would never put themselves in harm's way. Like I said again, King was killed by a country, not a person. It was an indictment on America. One that can't be fixed with platitudes and, oh, I'm going to do some service today. Your service, I don't care how many carrots you give out, your service cannot help me regain my inheritance. Your service cannot pay me back. It doesn't give me any wealth that you went out today and gave somebody some carrots. Today should be a day for planning, reset, and remembrance. Solemn and somber and to the point. A day of collective uplift. A day about our reparations and our economic fix and how to fix our rights. Listen, I'm not saying we don't do voting rights. Wait, Yvette, you trying to say that we shouldn't deal with voting rights? No. No, not at all. But you can't just deal with voting rights. You can't do that. This country will have you forever just trying to be a citizen. And that's what they've done. I want the whole bag of candy. I want it all. Well, we can't have this. How we gonna have it all? Well, maybe if we learn how to fight. And if you can't even get your Twitter right, if you can't even get these people and say these people don't speak for me, just because you wrote a book don't mean you speak for me. And what are you doing on King Day? Doing some class stuff. If you can't get your stuff right, what are you doing representing me and not saying we're coming to get our check, or tweeting about how King condemned America? If you're just talking about universal basic income, if we can't even get that right, what are we gonna do? Like I said, I'm curious. This movement's coming, and I'm curious. These official chapters are coming in spring. I'm very curious. Who gonna barbecue and who gonna mildew? Because there's some folks out there that's already moldy. Mildewy. Y'all don't even, we don't even tell enough people, why don't you just keep his name out your mouth? Like when you bring up your heroes, whoever they are, we don't say, yeah, and he believed in the Negro. But shoot, I can't say no. We adopt people's whole leaders. You see Negroes running around with Che Guevara shirts on. All of this stuff, all of this stuff represents the fact that our debt remains unpaid. How you gonna let somebody go around and pass out free carrots and your debt is unpaid? And that check that King talked about, that Janet Yellen pointed out, is still showing insufficient funds. You talking about a day of service. A day of service to who? A day of service of the government to the Negro, to the ADOS person now. That's the day of service. Ain't no day of service for everybody. We just gonna go out and just give. We gonna go out and do charity. You got all kind of think pieces out. Well, let's look and see what you can do on King Day. Y'all done let the whole, oh God, we done let, just the whole thing got co-opted to be about everybody. I heard a radio commercial today. Lord have mercy. The radio commercial said, the little boy said, yeah, I know it's a grocery store. Daddy, we learned about Dr. King in school today. It was a little Negro child, a little black child, and the daddy said, yeah, son, all with his speeches and his work, he did so much, something like that, he said, black man. The kid said, yes, he wanted us all to be able to be friends. So King died so everybody could be friends. That's the propaganda of the day. He died so we could be friends. Oh, y'all know what grocery store that is. Oh, it irks me. Have y'all heard that grocery store commercial? Oh, God, it keeps playing on my when I'm trying to work out the little dumb thing. I'm going to have to get a premium account. We just want us to be friends, Daddy. Didn't he pow? Yes. The man got shot in the neck on a balcony or whatever, so you could be friends with little Charlie over there, or little Chad over there. Yes, that's why he died. You could be friends. And don't nobody say nothing. That's fine. Keep saying nothing though. Like if you're not willing to go through this, I just don't want to hear it. Well, I tell you what King should have done. That's the first line of every barbershop Negro. I tell you what. See, the problem with King was. Every barbershop Negro you ever known, that's his. Well, the problem with King, what was you at? Well, you know, I couldn't do it. Well, shut up. What was this? Let me see. Struck on the head by a rock thrown by a group of hecklers. Now, listen, if you throw a rock, you're not a heckler, first of all. If you throw a rock, you're not a heckler. You are a violent, feral, alley cat white person. Like, you are not a heckler. That's not a heckler. A heckler is somebody who stands up at a comedy club and says, ha ha, that's why your wife's ugly or something. That's a heckler. This is you see how America does? Dr. Martin Luther King falls to one knee. Dr. King regained his feet and led a group of marchers demonstrating alleged housing discrimination to an all-white district. That's a lot to go through. I don't think he was going through that so little poor children could have carrots. Although I think he wanted poor children to have carrots or food too. I think he did. He's a pastor. But I don't think that was for that. See the disconnect? I don't want to hear from the people in the peanut gallery. I just don't. I'm so tired of the Negro peanut gallery. I don't know what to do. You got the sellouts and over here. You got the whole nother group over here talking about what should have been done and what need to be done. And I oppose. I don't think we should have segregated, or I don't think we should have integrated. Well, get out there and do. Get out there. What you building? Get out there and build. And stop talking to me. But we almost at an hour, family. The only thing I want to end, when I go to the phones, but the only thing I want to say before I end is, you either going to do something or you ain't. And to me, this rollout will be the test of whether you're going to do something and you ain't. And let me just caution everybody about something. Don't come to me if when we do this, you are not here in this movement to be a council of wise elders. There is actual work to be done. There is a shovel. We got to dig out of all the pool of bad politics of the last few decades. That needs a shovel. That's a lot of shovel. Don't come in to movement and say, Yvette, you know, if you could get somebody to dig over there and then you dig over here, I think y'all could get it done real fast. I know how shovels work. But if you come in here, you come here to work. And people who are inside the movement, inside HQ, already know that. So that's the culture. Nobody comes in here. We come to dig ourselves out of this hole and get our reparations and our transformative black agenda. That's it. And it's going to be interesting to see who's going to barbecue and who's going to mildew. Because we got a lot of talkers. We got a lot of people who are never going to transition from, just YouTube and just want to talk, and I want to I want to pontificate. I want to be an armchair intellectual. Yeah, but are you ever going to really do anything? Just asking. Because you're never going to really do anything. If the only thing you're going to do, talking is wonderful. I like to talk. I'm talking to you right now. Political awareness is good. Political education is great. We do that. And for those who don't know, the book club is January the 31st. On Patreon, the Making Hispanics What We Never Got To. So I like to do all of that stuff, but you also have to get to work, and like somebody has to do the work. Everybody just can't come with their ideas. Ideas are great, but every idea needs a champion. Every idea needs a champion. Every idea needs somebody who's going to get busy executing that idea. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind, and regardless of when King Holiday happens, whether it's this year, next year, the year after that, you have to keep in mind, the forefront of your mind, the sacrifice and why America thought that sacrifice was necessary. And America made sure that they got rid of King not because all got sure need shoes, but because he was a Negro leader and he was leading us to a space for rights and redress. And America was not having any of that because America had other plans. And I think if you keep that in the forefront of your mind, it helps you understand how to honor King and how to challenge people on his holiday who are dishonoring him. So keep that in mind, fam. I'm going to go to the phones, take a quick break to set up the phones, and we will come back as usual and we will try to have a conversation. Have a couple of callers at least. So if you want to talk about something, call in. We're gonna try to do all of that good stuff. You know, that's how we always do it. Hold on one second. All right, fam. See you in a couple. Fam, let's go to the phones. Let's go to 360. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, 360. Turn your background down.
Oh, got it. Hey, Yvette, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
My name is Albert. I'm calling you from North Carolina.
Hey, North Carolina, what's going
Been
on?
a long time. It ain't nothing but a long time listener.
Okay.
Called in once before and chatted, but I just wanted to share one thing. I came into the show a little late towards the end. However, today I posted on my Facebook page when I Googled MLK today, you know, Google brings up, it just brought up his page.
Uh-huh.
Well, then I Googled Betty White. When I Googled Betty White, Yvette roses came down the screen, a big thank you message.
Oh.
Now, Betty White died last year.
No, she died. No, Betty White just died. Oh, well, I guess it was last year. It's 2022. When did she?
Yeah.
When?
And on MLK Day, today, when you Google MLK, it just, it's normal, nothing. When you Google Betty White, Google drops roses. There's a thank you message that comes across the screen, and then it disappears, and then you get the normal image of Betty White.
Mm.
That's where they're at.
He said roses.
And everything.
And Joey said, "Thank you for being a friend." And roses dropped. I'm looking at it. Hold on.
Yep. And then Google MLK right after that. And this is to everybody listening to the show. Google Betty White, then Google MLK.
Mm. Mm.
That.
He said.
And again, I came in towards
No, go ahead,
towards
friend.
the end before you went to the calls, but all day today. That, you know, as I've looked at the memes, as I've looked at what's going on out here with academia, both on Twitter, on Facebook, or everywhere else, everything that you're saying is exactly right. It's a pander. It's you know, they take the talking points that they want from his message, but overall, at the highest levels, Google, nobody's caring unless we push this agenda. And and that, seeing that today is just proof of why Tone, of why ADOS is absolutely necessary. Because at the highest level, they don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they play. It's just a game, and it's just you know, they play a game, and you know how you always know whether somebody's playing a game or not is based on asking for something real that's not a game. Right? If you think somebody's playing a game with you, asking for something real that's not a game. Right? You know, ask him if you think somebody's like, oh, I'll do anything for you. Give me $1,000. And see the excuses come, right? And if they don't have, they don't have it. But like if you ask somebody, if you ask a fake person for something real, you're gonna know it's a game. And since we haven't asked for anything seriously, this ADOS that comes says we need reparations, and it's not us asking; it's a debt that's owed. Right, and in addition to a whole lot of other stuff, that's just one part of what you owe us. But nobody really comes to ask the question. So nobody ever sees, like, they just throwing, you know, what do you call it? It's kind of like throwing sprinkles at somebody and telling them like, well, I need dinner, and somebody throw you some sprinkles. Well, the sprinkles go on the cake. I don't got no cake, and the cake is just dessert, right? The cake is just dessert. I didn't get no dinner. I didn't get no real dessert. You just threw me some sprinkles. And the sprinkles wasn't even right because you gave Betty White nice sprinkles and a candle.
And gave us nothing.
You right.
And that's just it. I just wanted to chime in that was my share. Again, like I said, I came in a little bit into the show and caught that tail end before we went to the phones. But that just blew me away today, and it speaks to everything
I agree.
about our plight. Here we have a national holiday, a national hero, but yet Betty White.
He said,
Google.
Sprinkles. He said, but yet Betty White. All right, fam. I hear you. I did it too. It was roses and a big thank you and all kinds of stuff popped down. At least they didn't do it on King Day either. Like the day of, you think you would put something like that thing for Betty White been going on since she died on New Year's Eve. It showed, didn't she? Good Lord of mercy. Thank you, fam.
Absolutely. Keep up the work. I'll keep support.
Thank you. I appreciate you. He was on it. It was true too. Let me go to 910. What's your name? Where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Miss Yvette?
Hey.
This is Christian Mosley from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I actually called in a few months back, but man, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to vent just a little bit, but it'll at least be clear and concise.
Okay.
I'm all the way with you with what's been happening with the castration of Dr. King's legacy. It is an absolute. It's almost to put it any other way, it's really an abomination. To look at what they've done to his legacy and what it's created for us. Because it's not so much about the story not being told right, it's what it creates. It creates this sophomoric attitude of we don't really need justice. We just need friends. We just need to be, that's what, as you mentioned before, people have put around this stereotype of Dr. King that he died so little black boys and little white girls got hold hands and skip off into the sunset. And that's not why at all. He died because he called America the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. He died because he and that's a direct quote. And nobody likes that king. That's not the king that they talk about at the White House. They don't talk about the king that said power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic, which is ironic enough because black people disproportionately deal with sickle cell anemia, and that's the issue with the blood, and that's what we deal with in our community, is that we get all of this soul power and all of this love, and nobody wants to put anything behind it. And just to give a little background on me, for those that are watching, I'm 21 years old. I've been watching your show since I was about 16. And one of the things that I love about and I think I said this in the last call I did. So you actually went to Howard with my mom, and so she was the one that kind of got me into watching it. Yeah, but the thing is about it that I think for me, in the way that I was raised that, you know, when you know better, you do better. And I was raised around people that were proactive about, you know, when you see something going on, you need to do something about it. And I'm so sick and tired of watching people, and you said it before, talking black on the internet, and you have nothing to show for it. You're telling people to get businesses and to do this thing and do that thing, take a pilgrimage back to Africa to find your roots, but we can't afford rent here. We can't pay for food here. We got people that are marching in the streets still for cases of police brutality, but we have a housing crisis that's impending around the nation. People are literally getting eviction notices left and right, and nobody's doing protests for that. Nobody's going crazy for it disproportionately while we don't own anything. Nobody's talking about how the U.S. has stolen everything that we have in terms of land. Nobody's talking about how foreign aid. The other night, this is because you and Mr. Antonio have actually taught me how to study. A few weeks ago, I stayed up for about 4 to 5 hours on the U.S. foreign aid government website, trying to figure out how much money have they been giving to other countries while we've been begging just to have the little bit that we need just to survive. And I found out in my lifetime, from 2001 or 2000 to 2021, they gave $84.2 billion in foreign aid to Afghanistan. And then they gave another $59.3 billion to Israel. What exactly is it that they need over there that we don't need over here? What is it that people keep talking about on the internet and different things? And it's disheartening to even see with my generation, the millennials, even the generation after that, who believe that all you need to do is set up an LLC and get you a credit card and you'll be fine. Or you set up a Forex account and start trading stock. I started my own business when my younger brother and I, we were 13 and 14. My parents have been entrepreneurs my whole life, and in an instant, we lost everything because we didn't have any wealth. And so you got people that thinking that you can LLC your way to freedom. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, your LLC is a tax ID. It is not a business. It don't mean you have a product. It don't mean that you know how to market. It doesn't mean that you have any stability. It doesn't mean you have any contracts for anything. All it means is that Uncle Sam knows how to find you when you start getting money. That's it. And so to keep telling people, as it was funny, I saw Mr. Antonio say this on Twitter the other day, giving people magic beans politics, where we just have this whimsical idea where all you got to do is just believe and think really hard, and you can make it in America. That's not how it works. And just to kind of close off what I'm saying, I think we got to get comfortable as ADOS. We got to get comfortable with telling people to kick rocks. We're too cautious about trying to keep friends with people, or even people that are normally, you know, the spokespersons for us, like the Al Sharptons and people and those types of people of the world. Yes, I understand we have to respect our elders, but it comes a time where we got to get them to move aside. You've been sitting in this spot for too long. You got generation after generation that's coming up that has nothing. I'm a fourth generation ADOS that is starting from scratch, and I got grandparents living in a mini mansion in California because 75% of our wealth is held by baby boomers. So my parents don't have nothing. Me and my wife don't have anything, and God forbid my children may not have anything. But at the end of the day, we got to start talking about we need tangibles. We need something that can actually be measured. I have my own talk show, and I've actually been on a quote unquote small media tour recently. And every time I go somewhere, I talk about reparations and I talk about the ADOS movement. Not because I'm clout chasing, not because I want to talk black, but because we got to do something about it. And I'm sick and tired, especially as a young person, of people waiting around hoping that things are just going to get better. And, like, we don't have time for that anymore. Something that you say all the time is that ADOS are on a cliff.
Yep.
So we don't have time anymore. You either start moving now or you don't do anything.
Or you go over the cliff.
So to encourage all of my ADOS brothers and sisters watching, we got to get active. Definitely start tapping in with people that are really trying to educate people politically on the movement, and get your freedom or die talking.
Ooh, get your freedom or die talking. Let me tell you something. If this is what 21 looks like, we might be all right. We might be on to something. And I look forward to working with you, fam. You sound like you should be in the movement when we get started. We need some young people. I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I actually I filled out an application for the chapters. I'm not sure if it went through, but I definitely
don't worry about it. We got all new.
I'm here.
We brand new. Don't worry about it. We come get you again. We gonna get you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for calling in. Woo-wee. You gonna get to moving, or you gonna die talking. Ooh, some people would love to die talking. I just talk. He just talk himself talk. Everywhere you go, they talk. Ooh, that brother was. Listen. That was a very efficient use of words. He didn't waste one. So anyway, let me go to the next caller. I am going now to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Yvette. This is Sharon. It's been a minute since you and I have talked. I've called, must have been about a year or two ago. That last caller really gave me energy, because I'm going to tell you what, 2021 wore me out, Yvette. 2021 wore me out. Lots of deaths, lots of just trouble, lots of just seeing my people fall off, homelessness, all of it. And then just to see the commodification of Dr. King Holiday, it just really left me kind of numb. And so I really needed to see that these young people got it and are running with it. But I have a question for you,
sure,
Yvette, in terms of low-hanging fruit that we might consider. You asked, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you said, is marijuana our reparations? I don't know if you recall, it's been a while ago that you put that out there. But I'm thinking in terms of all of this conversation about now we're having to fight for voting rights again, because that's what they're trotting us out now to be the mule. And I think we have more and more people that are hip to the game that's being run on us. It's like Lucy and Charlie Brown. But I'm wondering if, in fact, we do see a movement where just like Joe Biden was able to move Obama to legalize gay marriage with the sweep of a pen, could not maybe we write some letters and say, hey, look, Kamala, you from California, can we get marijuana legalized or at least decriminalized, get some brothers out of jail, get some businesses started, just to kind of give us a down payment on this. It's not reparations at all, but can we get something? We need something to move us. We need a win. I mean, the Harvard Crimson retraction was great, and congratulations for that. Congratulations for everything, Yvette. I mean, I'm old. I'm 57. I'm weary now. But I got a little bit more energy, but I want to see it focus on something that we can do to see a needle move for us as it relates to our repair. What are your thoughts about us asking for Kamala to do something for people that are in jail by decriminalizing marijuana?
Well, let me say this:
expunging folk records, getting them home, having them have a business. Is that? I think what you're thinking.
Well, I think we have a in the Black Agenda we have a cannabis plan, but it has a lot of protections. But I think you have to be very, very careful, right? Because marijuana, I think, if I'm not mistaken, recreational marijuana is legal in California. What they have done, though, is make it to where the marijuana business, without the protections that we try to lay out in our agenda and without the specific kind of, specific kind of framework, what happens is the same thing that happens in any kind of business. The people who are able to have the business and work that business are people who are wealthy. Also because, and you have to have increased security at these marijuana dispensaries, because what happens is somebody could break into that thing and then sell it on the street, right? So it's not even like a lot of other products. So I think in order for that to happen, you have to have reparations, and you have to have what we have on the site, which is it's transformative black agenda, which we're working on. It kind of deals with how that would happen. Like and it's still not our reparations, but we should have a business agenda too that includes that. So that's still not our reparations, but our business agenda has to include that, and that's something that we're working on. But you just can't put it out there and say, well, we're going to legalize. I agree with you on expungements, though. I agree with you on that. Like, if people are making money on marijuana now, if a bunch of white men especially are making a bunch of money, millions and millions of dollars on marijuana, there's no reason why an ADOS person should have a marijuana hit against them on their record. So I think that that's fair. I just think that, and I understand you want to win. I'm just saying that we have that laid out sort of specifically in terms of what we're working on in our agenda, but you have to be very, very careful, because what white people love to do, or what America loves to do, because it's not just white people no more. These people of color and white and spicy mayo, it's a lot of stuff now. So I don't want to make it into that binary anymore. It used to be that binary. What they love to do is give you what looks like a win, and then you'd only get a little bit down the road and you realize it wasn't a win. But you celebrated with them like it was a win because you didn't know it wasn't a win. It's kind of like welfare. They had that poor woman, Clinton had that poor woman sitting up there talking, signing the Welfare Act, this black woman, and she died in poverty because, the Welfare Reform Act, because it was never good for her, but she didn't know that. So you have to be very, very careful. But I am for something that kind of carves out that space for us, since we were the ones who bore the brunt of the drug war. I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of expungement. I'm just saying be very careful with it, because the devil's in the details. That's all I'm saying.
I totally agree. I'm on board. My money, my energy, what's left of it is with ADOS. So thank you, and Tom, for getting us to this point. And I will release the line for the next call.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate you, ma'am. Let me go to the next caller. I am going to I'm going to 404. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
Hey, this is Renee. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Okay.
One of the things, I wanted to mention 2 points. So, when we talk about redistribution of wealth, excuse me, oftentimes we don't consider how much wealth goes to a lot of these big nonprofits and NGOs that are usually managed by white folks. Mm-hmm. So the government gives them these millions of dollars on top of tax breaks, but more often than not, ADOS people are not benefiting from these services. And I say this as somebody that works in healthcare, who works hard to connect ADOS, mainly black men, to services like housing, like jobs, like job training. If it were up to me, and I think people should push for this, I would eradicate the nonprofit classification and take that money and redistribute it directly to communities. We know what we need. We don't need a third party basically sitting around talking about, we're serving community, and they plaster us on their commercials, but in real life it's not happening.
Well, and the problem too is, see, the problem is small government. I'm sorry. In the sense of, that's who does it now. That's who does the distribution. So if you go to a lot of places, you'll see like this. They have this nonprofit. They have this Catholic organization. They have this, and so the government has kind of, in a lot of spaces, just decided we don't have enough people. We don't have enough manpower. We're gonna assign it to these nonprofits, and they get whatever kind of administrative fee they got to keep them getting paid good. and then they're in charge of how that program is administered, as opposed to just like it being directly. And I believe in sometimes, like I believe in building up government, so that, if I have an issue, I can go directly to the government. You have a lawsuit right now with what is it, Navient, the student loan administrator who took over after Sally Mae. Right? Because
Yes.
you didn't have that, you might have had problems, but I don't remember that when the Department of Education was doing that. So I just think that there are way too many middlemen, in terms of what we do, and in terms of how they dispense it too. I remember a woman told me that it was some money coming out. And it was the first set of Biden monies or whatever, the COVID money. And she said she went to she went to a political meeting for the nonprofit, and she said, well, there's a diversity clause here, and you all have to consider the diversity clause. It's not even a Negro clause, or you have to consider the cost of the community board. It's just a diversity clause. And the woman basically said, and not these words, she said, make me. Right? Like, so now you have to go and figure out a way to make her consider the diversity clause. I mean, it's just too much. But I hear what you're saying. I think I hear what you're saying.
And the other point I wanted to make is we recently had local elections here in Atlanta, and I'm sure a lot of other cities, and a lot of us are still waiting on larger elections like the governor's race. And you hear all of these politicians, especially since the pandemic or the height of the pandemic, talking about how they want to cut crime and create safer communities. If they're very serious about cutting crime, let's be honest, most crime that occurs among ADOS or black communities is solely from lack. So if you're serious about cutting crime, cut the check. If people had access to the wealth, to opportunities to higher paying real careers, not these bullshit jobs that only pay minimum wage, there would be a drastic drop in crime.
Well, it's like I say, like people say, well, no, these people, y'all are just deficient. Listen, if you have two parents who have money, if you commit a crime, that's just because you like crimes. But you don't see them out in the streets shooting. You don't see them robbing nobody, snatching nobody's pocketbook. They don't need to. These are poverty crimes. And nobody's ever been serious. Well, American policymakers have not been serious about crime. They have been serious about vilifying ADOS as being deficient and using crime as a rhetorical tool and a political tool for doing that. But they've never been serious about stopping crime, because crime is very good for white politics. Crime is very good for a lot of people of color politics. Crime is very good for that, right? And so I think we have to absolutely consider that, right? So
well, what I've learned working in, so I work in healthcare now, but I worked in government. I've worked with some of these large nonprofits. Something that I'm not willing to do ever again is that not only is crime profitable, but so is poverty, particularly ADOS poverty.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in. I'm going to try to get to another call. Thank you. Going to my next caller. I'm going to 616. 616. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Hello? 616?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey! How you doing?
Yvette.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm Janice.
Hey,
Janice from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm ready for the chapters to roll out.
Good.
Will there be one in Grand Rapids?
Well, there might be. If you have enough people, we'll roll out the qualifications as well. If you have enough people, we can absolutely do that. We're gonna roll them out staggered, so they're not all gonna come out. They're gonna come out in bits and pieces. So we'll announce which cities are coming, and we'll start off slow and then build up.
Oh, that's great. Oh, it's great. I'm so depressed about this voting stuff, and I'm tired of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it hasn't been secured years ago. Our vote, we built the country.
Absolutely.
And we're still right there.
Absolutely. I agree. You're not gonna get an argument on that from me. Anything
Okay,
else?
well, this is my first time calling. I've been listening to 18.
Okay.
I'm online as B Goody. Yeah, so this is my first time, and so I'm a little nervous. But yeah, I'm here. I'm ready. I've talked everybody's ear off. I'm empowered. And I think we need young people on this, and I'd like to explain everything to them. And, hey, that's all I can do. I'm 63, and I'm doing the best I can.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you. We appreciate you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
You too. You too.
I'll let the next caller
We look
talk.
forward to Grand Rapids.
Okay. Thank you, and goodbye.
You have a good one. Bye-bye. All right. I am going now to 773. 773, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Oh, hello. My name is Carl Roberts. How you doing?
Pretty good, Carl. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. You said something earlier that kind of caught my attention, and it was good. You said that, and I wrote it down because I'm a long-time listener. And let me cut on this light to get this going. And you said King was killed by the country.
Mm-hmm.
And see, a lot of people forget that because white folks like the holiday off and not the man.
Mm-hmm.
See, hello?
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. You know, they and I work for the city. And they love to be there when the holiday's there.
Mm-hmm.
But when he got killed, do you know, in the white neighborhoods in the city, they were celebrating.
Yeah.
They don't say that. They don't mention that when the holidays come up.
No.
And it's all the news anchors. It's the news anchors. It's the teachers. It's the city workers. All their parents were celebrating when he got killed.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, we need to come to, it's BS. It's BS. And there's a lot of black folks that don't say nothing too. And it's like, come on now. But like another caller said, Betty White, oh my God, that's a national hero. What?
That's an actress.
See, what we need to do,
people don't.
what we need to do with that, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I cut you off.
Yeah, but it's like, they keep saying like, it's a two-way situation, like, the news, like, yeah, man, King and this and that, I have a dream and all that. But, like we were saying back in the world, they keep saying that I have a dream speech. What about that other speech? With that money?
Well, they pick and choose. They pick and choose. They don't even. What King said in the video I said today was akin to what Jeremiah Wright said. In terms of America will be punished for what it's doing. Like, they pick and choose, and you always see this pick and choosing from either people who are selling out or either people who have an agenda that is different than our agenda, right? So socialists and leftists have agenda that's different than our agenda. These people over here are selling out. That's what you, and that's why that's always a red flag to me when you go that route. It's like, okay, this is what I see what you're doing.
And I say, listen, there's a lot of racists though that they know what's going on, and they play that game with us so good. They cool with us, but on that back end, it's two sides.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of racists do that. They cool with us because down south, and I want to say this because I know you down south. I want to say that with Morgan Freeman had something a while back where it was like the Mexicans they can go to the white prom,
Well, because you said the Mexicans. You said the Mexicans?
It was somewhere down there. You can go to the white prom and the black prom. You shouldn't be able to do that. Because up in here, it was a problem where, like, they was doing, like, the day labor thing, speaking Spanish and all that. See,
well, they've always been,
see, everybody
but
gets
they've
to
always
play
been
with us
white.
like that.
It's not that they get to move back and forth. They've always been white. They only started to call themselves people of color when there started to be money and resources in it. They white. So like you can do what you want. You want to fight for the union, you can fight for the union. You want to fight for the Confederacy, you can fight for the Confederacy. Like if you have a choice, they were whole white people. But when there's money and they say, hey, like there's money in this now. So I want some of these resources that should be going to Negroes. You can't just say I'm brown too. That we should both get money. And we didn't have anybody, after who said, hey, no, that's just for us. We had people who were trying to build bridges. Well, we're gonna build, and we always gonna fight together, and we're gonna fight white supremacy together. These people are white. They're not gonna fight white people with you, and they white.
Right, and then hey, all the folks in Chicago know. You get Mexicans in black neighborhoods, you rap like, wait, what? Mexican family living over there now. But then they don't look at it like, it's cool. And see, we always that turn the other cheek. And that's kind of, we need to get past that. We turn the other cheek, and they turn the profit. They turning households. They turning a whole nother, everything but the cheek. And that ain't right. We need to watch that. Hello?
I'm here. I'm just letting you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's like you ride down the neighborhood, it's Mexicans now. You like what? But that was the whole thing. Like I see everybody MLK. But shit, tell how your family members was mad at MLK. They only like us when it's a profit. But that's all, man. That's all. It's sad.
No, I agree with you. It's all sad, fam. I agree with you, but I agree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong, fam. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But
No. But that's my view. What I see from working where I work at and where I live at, and that's what I see. So each is because now there's been times where like I disagree with you, but I think once you cross that Mason-Dixon line, it's different.
What kind of line it was? What kind of line it was? It was what kind of line?
The Mason-Dixon.
Yeah.
The Mason-Dixon line. There you go. Don't mess with me about my libations.
I knew you was on the libations. I know it.
Hey, you trying to do me like that? The Mason-Dixon line.
You slowed it down and you got it right.
Yeah, I know. You trying to. Hey, all right.
All right, I appreciate you though. I gotta get to the next caller, but I appreciate you. I caught you, but I appreciate you. You have a good one. All right, fam. Oh. Anyway, fam. Let me get to let me get to another caller real quick. I'm going to 646. 646. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, 646. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about
Mike
you?
from the Bronx.
How you doing? What's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I believe that it's a shame that our leaders didn't focus on, the Martin Luther King that spoke about receiving our check. Because, a lot of us didn't learn about that speech till we got older. And I also believe that this whole voting rights thing is important, but I think it's a game they're playing with black people. I believe that, this is just me, I have no proof of this, that, a lot of the president, his cabinet and everybody, I think that they're holding off on they're using the Voting Rights Act and kind of using it to get our attention, our focus, so we won't focus on anything else. You know what I'm saying? So we won't focus on reparations.
and he's stretching out, fighting for the Voting Rights Act, so we can put all our energy and our effort into it. They say they do get something. So and then if it does succeed, we get he get whatever bill he's trying to pass to get it done for voting rights. That they can say, Democrats can say, see, we did something for you.
Well, and even if they don't, what they're going to say, listen, they knew this wasn't going nowhere. They knew they didn't have mansion. You don't have cinema. You know it's not going nowhere. But I think what we have to understand sometimes that, like, what Democrats do is give themselves talking points for people to run for office. So people are going to make speeches. People are going to say, I fought for voting rights. People are going to say, I was there. I was on the right path. It was some other people. You give people talking points for their run. And this was just something to give somebody a talking point. It wasn't a serious effort, and nobody should be getting credit for this.
No, it wasn't. Right now, in saying that, I'm not saying because you got some people. I think some people went too far in saying, yeah, man, the Democrats such. We need to go Republican. Now, to me, that's crazy. Because they like to say, we go Republican. At least they had this argument. I know you heard this before. At least, the Republicans they out open with their racism, and the Democrats try to be sneaky with it. But see, here's the thing: I believe everybody the Republican, Democrats, or white supremacists. They became sophisticated. I think if you look at Biden, look at Trump, they can be out with their racism when they need to be. They can be sneaky with their racism. I think both of them can do that. One may be better one way, one may be better the other way. But I think both can adapt to whoever their audiences are. It's just when they need to be loud and up in your face with their racism, they can do it. When they need to be, sneaky and more conniving and try to be nice, they can do. I think both can do that way. So do it. So I think we have to be careful. Because if we have to adopt this mentality, let's go vote Republican to the Democrat. What you're doing, you're right back at the lesser of two evils argument.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's funny, the same people who say, you'll have people say the lesser of two evils is still evil, and then they'll say vote Republican. Like, I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying
that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense if you're going to say
the reason why y'all sit down ballot is basically saying vote locally. Look, like some people, black people with money, they can make that argument. I can understand that.
And they're they might be in a different tax bracket, where they benefit from
I
those
may not
tax
need
cuts.
it, but I know black people need that. Whatever little things that these little Democrats are trying to get it for you. Like lower rent or tax break here and there, whatever. I know that our people need that because where we at economically. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have nobody to do that, maybe you don't vote. But I understand a lot of our people need that stuff, and that's just real. A lot of us get on YouTube, we talk big to how much money we making, how businesses, but in reality, we know that we need a lot of government services. That's all I want to say.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I agree with you.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. And that's why I talk about collective uplift. It ain't about just one thing or one person. You got to be in it with the collective. And we let too many of these celebrities just be Republican and don't say nothing. You'll talk about Ben Carson or whatever all day. I'm just saying be consistent. I'm not saying I'm not saying Yvette said don't be Republican. Yvette said don't be Democrat. I'm saying it's a lot of inconsistency. If you're gonna be one way and you just gonna run after if you're gonna run after all these, run after them too, because they be talking one way and they get in the room and that's why they behave the way they behave. I might just watch that Bel Air Will Smith stuff just to critique it, because it looks like a hot mess. So have y'all seen that? Have y'all seen that preview with this huge mansion that's supposed to be a reimagining of the show? And I think on Antonio's show he said it comes from like a man who was he like West Indian. He was taken in by some white people and put in a shed out back, and that was the real story. Lord, never knew none of that. Anyway, going down to 510. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year. Who is this?
Happy New Year, Yvette. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's going on? What's your name?
This is Marika and Esther. Marika and Esther in Oakland.
Okay.
Bay Area chapter.
Okay.
We just want to say happy Dr. King Day to the family.
Thank you.
We're still glowing from meeting you at the conference,
Oh.
More blowing. Finally got our retraction.
I know.
From Harvard.
Woo. But we did it.
And yeah, yes, we did that. Yes, and yeah, we just happy about reclaiming Dr. King and letting people know it was not just him having a dream. We're coming to claim our check.
I mean, people just love the dream speech. Hate the check speech. Hello? Oh, I think they messed up the phone. I'm going to my last caller. I'm going to 516. 516. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Stacy from Freeport, New York. Somehow you always get me last. That's so good.
I did just see you be slow getting to the line. No, I was just messing with you.
Well, I spent the day listening to Dr. King's interview again on NBC in 1967, and also his last sermon. And what he spoke about in the last sermon was part of it was about Rip Van Winkle, and I never realized it, but that story is one of sleeping through revolution. And when Rip Van Winkle went up the hill, there was a sign that said King George the Third, and when he woke up, it said George Washington. So he had slept through revolution. And what I see as we go through this journey, I've seen you on this journey, and I don't think in the beginning you ever thought that we'd be talking about ADOS advocacy foundation chapters, because I remember the reluctance, and people were talking about think tanks and all telling you what you should be doing. But eventually you took on this courageous leadership, and you know, I plan on being a soldier. I don't need to be even a lieutenant, just a private, like I said. Part of this, where we are, I was reflecting also on what Kamala said when she was campaigning. She could have said something different, but she said to us she wasn't going to do anything specifically for black people. Exactly, was like, oh, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. No, if we do something for everyone, that helps black people. You know, I'm paraphrasing.
So you're right, though.
Was, we're going. I'm sorry. What are you saying?
No, I said you're right.
What she could have said is, we're going to do something specifically for black people, for black Americans, because when we do, it's going to help all of America. But they can never say, they're never going to make that point. And again, I believe we've come to a point where we can just ask ourselves as ADOS two simple questions. One, are you ADOS? Meaning, is your lineage based in slavery and all of its accrued disadvantage? And two, do you believe we should receive reparations? Once you have an answer to those two questions, and if the answer is yes, you're here. You're like Dorothy, and somebody spoke about that when the Good Witch said, you've always had the ability to go home. All you have to do is click your heels 3 times. You've always had this. So part of it is, I think about Groundhog Day. Let's get out of this Groundhog Day. We're trapped because we haven't made the decision of who we are, why we're stuck in this position, and all we can do is what you keep saying, collective uplift. No individual is going to make it. And just, thank you. And also, replace James Clyburn.
Thank you, fam. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate the...
One more quick thing.
Okay.
One more quick thing. I have Dr. King's quote that someone spoke about, the 3 evils, just quickly.
when machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, economic exploitation, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. A civilization can flounder as readily in the face of moral bankruptcy as it can through financial bankruptcy.
Thank you,
Thank
fam.
you, Yvette.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, fam. Thank you so much. All right, fam. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. And thank y'all for a wonderful, so wonderful seeing some of y'all again. Thank you for a wonderful MLK Day. Happy New Year to everybody. Please finish your libations. Have some water. Get you hydrate yourself. If you had an alcoholic libation. If you didn't, finish your green tea. Green tea, I hope you ain't got to go to bed. Chamomile, water, soda, whatever you got going on. And don't over imbibe, if that's the word they use. Don't have a little extra. But I appreciate everybody who called in. And I appreciate seeing all y'all. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And hit the like button before you leave, fam. Hit the like button before you leave. But yeah, we got to get this together and get this right. Like I said too, the Making Hispanics will be Patreon on the 31st of January. I still haven't figured out a schedule of how and when I'll be kind of popping up here. I'm not going to abandon it, but I want to be able to do a little bit more thorough stuff over on Patreon, but I'm not abandoning my YouTube. So I'll figure that out in due time. But please give it a like. Please give a like if you want to. Got new hoodies if you want to buy our merch. You want to buy a hoodie, ADOSmerch.com, all that good stuff. We're also going to have some foundation hoodies that are really, really nice that are coming out soon. So please keep an eye out for that. They are really nice. So fam, that is all that I have for today. But you got to remember the sacrifice. Remembering the sacrifice helps you honor the person and honor the movement. So please don't forget that. And I'll see y'all next time, fam. Until then, please keep it easy and breezy.